going on, guys? Rise on here. I know it's been a minute, but I got an email from a guy from a company called Adventure Cow. They have a game, an interactive story called Strayed. That's right, it's Strayed. It's supposed to be similar to Buried. That's how they found me. They contacted me, asked me if I wanted to showcase some stuff. I didn't think I was going to be doing a whole lot, but hey, I'll do it. And if you guys like it, let me know. It'll be available June 24th. I'll have the link in the description below. Alright, so let's get started. This will be on Google Play, but I downloaded a way to get it on my computer because I had no way of doing it on my computer otherwise. So let's get started. Okay, Strayed. I'll start right on in. What's all this? Cool. Alright. Rain drums on the car roof. You turn up your wipers and peer into the murk. In glimpses, through a brief triangle of clear windshield, you make out a black band stretch across the dim horizon. Ovenique Woods. Only 15 miles from home now. The trees draw close. Branches begin to extend across the road, like the grasping arms of the gnarled old lovers. Your headlights cast shadows on the passing trunks and pick out rotting leaves and fallen branches. As you speed beneath the canopy, sheltered from the rain at last, a bulletin comes on the radio. Continue to come in and about a series of injuries in the vicinity of the woods. Accounts of the creature vary. Some describe it as having dark, mottled fur and being bigger than a bobcat. Others have speculated it may be a black bear, which has strayed from its regular habitat. Police warn the beast is extremely aggressive and should not be approached. In other news, a local man has protested. You shiver. Sometime in the last 10 miles, your fingers have become cold and a little stiff. What do you do? Ouch. Apparently that's from this. Stressful there. That kind of painful. Quick break. Yes. Oh, sweet. Alright, sorry. You shiver. Sometime in the last 10 miles, your fingers have become cold and a little stiff. What do you do? Change the radio station? Turn up the heating? Or check your texts? I'll turn up the heating a little bit. The cold is just natural. You reach for the control panel, yawning. The highway leads straight ahead, flanked by trees. The heating dial clicks as you rotate it into the red band. Perhaps you should. A movement in your peripheral vision. You glance up. Something the size of a cat darts across the road. It freezes in your headlights, eyes wide. You stamp on the brakes and brace your hand against the dash as deceleration throws your body forward into the seatbelt. With a crack, the heating dial snaps beneath your palm. As breath rushes out of you, something slams against the hood and bounces beneath the wheels. Oh, get out the road. You turn off the ignition and sit for a moment, breathing. Light drops of rain slip from the foliage to splash on the hood and patter on fallen leaves. Nothing skitters into the woods, spooked by a near miss. Nothing stumbles away, dazed, but unhurt. Nothing moves. Open the window and listen carefully. I'm not going to be one of those guys that gets out and, checks, especially when you hear some creepy stuff, so let's just open the window. The window slides down, humming. The hot metal of the engine clicks as it cools. You strain your ears to catch any animal sound, but you hear only the rustle of branches and the whisper of the rain. You could just drive away, of course, but then you'd never know what you did. Get out and look. The air is chilly on your face. Step by step, you edge towards the front of the car. The cold beams of the headlights pick out the gritty surface of the blacktop, but there is no blood and no sign of whatever you hit. You walk back towards the trunk, pop it open, and take out your flashlight. Thumbing the button on its side rewards you with nothing more than a faint and yellowish glow. Useless. You throw it back into the trunk and walk out of the rear of the car, your eyes gradually adjusting to the darkness. You see it. Its body is twisted, legs splayed at painful, broken angles. A scattered constellation of white fragments surrounds the body, sparkling into the moonlight. You think at first that you have killed it, but as you watch, the abdomen rises, then drops. You still can't tell exactly what sort of creature it is, so you move slowly around it. Hidden among mottled fur, the eyes are squeezed shut, but the mouth hangs open. Its moist interior glistening. Ooh, moist. One eye cracks open, slowly. The creature hunches itself into a bristling mound, as if preparing to move, or even pounce. Well, I don't want rabies. The thing's probably gonna die, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and strike first and give it a humane death. Oh man, you place the heel of your shoe against the animal's skull, and suddenly drop your entire weight upon it. There is a soft crunch, yet the skull holds firm and you stumble off. The animal snarls and rolls over. It seems to be trying to stand, its claws scrabbling madly at the asphalt. It drags itself a couple of feet and collapses again, a defiant rattle lodged in its throat. It is now lying between you and your car. Try again with more force. You step over at foot raised. With a surprising burst of speed, the thing skitters away from the blow and backs itself up against the rear of your car. Another step, and it begins to growl. It doesn't sound like a cat. You look at the strange furry bundle, picked out in the harsh glare of shadow. Perhaps you have been too quick to write it off. Whatever the case, you really need to get back in your car. I'm gonna fight it if I can. As you move around the creature towards the driver's side, it seems to panic and hisses loudly at you before turning and leaping clumsily into the truck. The rear of the car jumps slightly with the impact, and you can hear the creature crashing around its newly confined environment. After a few moments, everything goes quiet and you reconsider the situation. Now it's in your car. Perhaps you could force it back out of the trunk, but it might just be easier to slam the lid on it and deal with it later. I don't want this thing in my truck, let's get it out of here. You find a good-sized branch by the side of the road and approach the trunk. The creature is huddled in a far corner, and as you move the branch towards it, it begins to hiss and shift strangely in the darkness. What kind of animal is it? You poke it and it snarls and makes a sudden leap forward. The branch is torn from your hands and you instinctively jump backwards. From the open mouth of the trunk, the creature spits your weapon back at you and splinters. You feel suddenly vulnerable out here in the open. Mustering your dwindling courage, you lunge forwards and slam the trunk shut. It thumps and bucks a couple of times and then all is quiet. Back in the driver's seat, you try to think where to take it. Perhaps you still have enough reception to call for... Oh no. Your phone lies in the passenger footwell, the screen spiderwebbed and dark. It must have broken during your emergency stop. You'll just have to deal with this the old-fashioned way. Drive on. After a couple of minutes, you find yourself shivering and glance down at the heating controls. Somehow, you manage to spin the dial back to cold before it snapped. Cursing your luck, you zip your jacket right up under your chin. It's going to be a cold drive home. A sign looms up ahead, warning of a junction. Either road will take you in the direction you want to go. The left branch is shorter and should get you home faster, but the road you're on has a better surface and more traffic. There might be a well-lit stopping place along that route. Well, I'll take the shortcut, why not? It's gonna be a bad idea. You make the turn. Immediately you feel the change in your surroundings. The trunk's pressing closer around you and the road begins to wind, blocking your view of the route ahead. After 5 minutes of weaving through woods, you see oncoming lights and slow down. While the road looks wide enough for 2 vehicles, this is not the time to take chances. An SUV approaches, slows, and you ease past it carefully. The road keeps you alert, demanding constant attention. Every corner is different and you concentrate, alert for other wildlife on the road, which, in a way, is what you find around the next turn. She appears in the headlights like a phantasm, flash photographed against the trees. You feel a stab of alarm, but her hand is out, thumb upraised. A teenage girl, a hitchhiker. This is a lonely road, and she looks weary. I'm gonna stop the car. You wind down a window. The girl scrambles over. Rain drips from the brim of her hat. You see frizzy hair and freckles, brown eyes look you over, and a hesitant smile develops. Thanks for stopping. I've been walking through these goddamn woods for hours. My last ride got a bit touchy-feely, and when I said no, he threw me out. I'm Haley. She thrusts a hand forward to shake. Wind up the window and drive off. Yeah, ask her where she's going. Haley names a town in which is in a different direction from yours. But to be honest, I'll take whatever I can get. Anywhere I can get a cup of coffee would be better than this. You notice her jacket is wet though. Tell her to get in. Why not? Because if this thing comes out, she might end up taking a hit for me and I can get out, letting her die, whatever. Thank you. She hauls a bag from the blacktop and slings it into your rear seat. Climbing into the passenger seat, she shakes the rain off of her hat before tossing it after the bag and closing the door. You pull back onto the road. Haley closes her eyes and breathes. Give me a minute or two to appreciate you quietly, she says. Then I'll be good for some conversation. You give her 5 minutes while the road curves gently and the engine hums. Why is it so cold in here? She asks, breaking the silence. You point at the broken heating dial. Oh, okay, she says, then she smiles. You're still an angel. Then it happens. The sound comes from the rear of the car. Bang, bang, bang. Haley opens her eyes and turns her head. It comes again. Bang, bang, bang. I'm going to explain what happened. I'm not going to get crazy about it. Haley's eyes flash to the speedometer, then her bag. They return to your face, level and wary. You explain about the animal running out in front of you earlier, and how the thing got into your trunk. She looks at you for a long time, then it comes again, bang, bang, bang. Stop the car, she says. I'm gonna stop the car. Let's let her do what she's gotta do. You pull up on a straight section of road, branches shift above you in the drizzle. You'll need to leave the car lights on to see anything in this murk, and for that you need to leave the keys in the ignition. You look at Haley. She is motionless, watching you out of the corner of her eye. Wait for her to get out first. I don't trust anybody. There are a few moments of awkward silence. Haley turns and says, So, aren't you going to get out and check it? You hesitate. She blinks. Okay, fuck this, she says and grabs her bag and hat. I don't know what your deal is, but I'm out of here. Do not follow me. She disappears between the trees, jamming her sodden hat on her head. Ah, I tried. The older road rejoins the main highway, and shortly after you see the glow of a clearing. A ramshackle two-pump gas station slumps by the side of the road. You haven't heard the banging noise for a while, but this is the opportunity you've been waiting for to check the rear end. You pick an empty space beneath a lamp and pull in. As you kill the engine, everything seems suddenly quiet. Check the rear of the car. You open up the trunk. The picnic blanket is still there, tucked into the corner. Inside, the creature shifts slowly. A tangle of darkly matted hair tumbles from the woolen folds. Its movements are lackluster. Are those stains blood? Gas station staff. The creature emits a single, mournful mew as you close the trunk. The gas station is little more than a wooden booth. Inside, a white strip light illuminates a bored teenager flicking through a skin magazine. He doesn't look up until you rap on the window and explain the situation. What do you expect me to do? You think I'd be stuck here in the middle of the night if I was qualified to vet? What'd you say? Use your phone? Nope. Only gas station staff on station business. I'd lose my job. I'm gonna threaten him. The teenager looks straight at you, then he yawns in your face. Go for it. You think you're the first idiot, can't afford gas, threaten to beat me up or shoot me? We've got cameras and an emergency button that brings every cop in the area. It's a boring shift. Make it better, why don't you? And if you actually manage to hurt me, I'll get a big payout on the insurance. Try it. Entertain me. Go to jail. Whatever. Head onwards. This location isn't going to win Gas Station of the Year award anytime soon. Whatever the state of the creature in your trunk, you're not going to resolve it here. Might as well press ahead. It's perhaps 12 more miles to home. Drive on. You pull away from the gas station, your breath fogging the cold air around you. At least you won't fall asleep. An 18-wheel tanker hums past, the car rocking slightly in its wake. A radio bulletin breaks in on your thoughts. Animal control units have been dispatched to investigate further reports of attacks by a large beast in the area of Ovenique Woods. The wide distribution of these injuries have led some to conclude that there are multiple creatures at large. This has fueled speculation that an animal transportation vehicle may have crashed at the site. The woods are home to several highways, many of which are in a poor state of repair. Drive on. Signs warn of a fork in the road ahead. It's been a while since you've come this way. You seem to remember more settlements along the left branch, but a dim memory tugs at you. Something negative you can't quite recall. You recall there is a ranger station on the light branch, but it's not for miles. Let's go there. At the fork, you peel right. Branch by branch, the canopy reforms above the car until you're driving down a tunnel of trees. Something small and black flits through your headlights. In the distance? A bat? Maybe. You nearly miss the phone booth. It sits huddled behind a bus stop, a small wooden shelter serving no obvious habitation, but you have a few loose quarters. You could make a call. Ignore the booth, let's keep going. The road continues to weave. You pass a small loggers clearing where the trees have been felled and stacked. There is a temporary hut that lies dark. It looks like nobody stays on site overnight. With your heating broken, the interior of the car is feeling really cold now, and scratching noises from the rear suggest the animal might be feeling it too. The sooner you get out of these woods, the better. A road sign appears near lights. It indicates a left turn, with an icon for a campsite. The road straight on has a marker for ranger station. Let's try the turn. A light twinkles ahead between the trunks. For a moment, you remember stories of will-o'-the-wisps, ghost lights which lure unwary travelers into swamps and marshes. Then you clear the trees and see the light is a small campfire. Two figures have pulled their car off the road and pitched a tent. They sit slumped together, watching the flickering flames. Leave him be. Something about the scene deters you from stopping. Maybe it's their intimacy, or just apprehension about what kind of person would choose to spend the night in these woods. You drive past the campsite. The figures at the fire don't look up. Press on. The campsite slides away in your rear view mirror. The road returns to its weaving, hypnotic rhythm. You blink and try to throw it off. The trunks fall back a little as you approach the highway. A pickup loaded with logs rumbles past and disappears off to your left. You turn right instead, in the direction of home. You reach a hand back to squeeze your neck. 3 cars have passed in the last 10 minutes, and it feels like you might finally be drawing closer to civilization. Every now and then you hear a thump from your trunk. That thing is starting to get restless. Headlights in your mirror approach from behind. They hold there for a few minutes, matching your speed but making no move to overtake. You're beginning to get suspicious when the car is abruptly lit up by flashing blue lights on its roof. It's the highway patrol. You pull over. You pull your car to the side of the road and let it ride up on the bank a little. The cop car pulls up close behind you. Its driver steps out, fits his hat to his head, and saunters up to your driver's side. playing a torch beam across the car. You wind the window down. His leathery face peers at you, shadowed eyes over a thick mustache. You glance at the gun in his belt. You know you have scratches on your bodywork, he says. He taps the metal with the end of his torch. Thank him warmly. You thank the officer for his attention. He nods, but makes no move to return to his vehicle. He stands there, looking you directly in the eyes. It's hard to hold his gaze. Care to tell me why you have scratches on your bodywork? He asks. You explain that damage happened earlier when you swerved into branches to avoid an animal. Uh-huh. He gestures with the torch. Open the trunk, please. Yeah, I'm gonna open it. Screw it. You step from the car, feeling the cop staring at you. Mud squelches beneath your feet as you walk round to the rear. Your body casts a shadow across the trunk from the police cruiser's headlights. The officer hovers a little out of reach as you feel beneath the lid and lift and release. The trunk opens. The officer moves you aside and shines his torch around the trunk. It settles on the bundle of blanket. Thing within hisses and snarls, retreating from the light. Are you transporting a dangerous animal? The cop gives you a hard look. Ask for help. A furry limb slips from beneath the wool. The cop leans in a little, scrutinizing it. Then he backs off and closes the trunk, firm but controlled. We're not permitted to touch them except in an emergency, he says. I can't call animal control into the woods here for... What is it, a cat? A dog? 5 miles further, you reach a small town. If you still require assistance, there's a man stationed there. They'll be able to assist you. He tilts his hat and turns away. Drive safely, now. You take a long breath. Nobody wants to help me, this is retarded. Oh well. The radio squawks into life. Did you actually turn it on? Did you leave it on? Reports are coming in that seem to corroborate some of what we were told earlier about a big cat loose in Ovenique Woods. Multiple drivers have contacted the station to report a glimpse of something large in the area. Details of its appearance still vary wildly. One source describes a wooden exoskeleton nailed into its flesh, while another describes a glistening hide with a fungal sheen. Clearly the beast's form is a powerful trigger to the imagination. But all these recent accounts agree on two things. The creature is large, and it's moving fast through the woods as if it has a particular objective in mind. At this point, we can only speculate what that might be. I probably have its baby in my trunk and it's coming for me. The canopy thims out for a few moments. The moon is daubed across the road in fractured watercolor. You make the turn for home. You're making good progress. 10 more minutes of steady driving and you'll reach the edge of the woods. You stifle a yawn. The canopy has closed in again, and the light plays tricks, but there seems to be something on the blacktop ahead. Something wide and dark. A truck? Your lights catch the outline of the shape as you approach, picking up bedraggled limbs and branches, leaves plastered across the tarmac. Close up, you can see the texture of bark. This is one of the larger trees from the wood, toppled across the road. There is a little room at the sides, but what brought this down? You can't remember a recent storm strong enough to do it. There is an alternative route home, but it means a significant detour, and perhaps 2 hours of more driving. Interesting. Let's drive around it. The less cluttered gap is between the lower end of the fallen trunk and its original site. You can now see the stump where it used to stand. You reverse, then edge the car forward. You're coming at it from too wide an angle, so you pull back further and try again. It's going to be tight. Very tight. Actually. Mud sloshes around your vehicle wheels. You feel the car drift off. You reverse back to firmer ground, and that's when you see them. At first you see young trees, slim, shrouded in moss, swaying between the older trunks. Then one of them blinks. Now they are a row of people, wearing cloaks of brown and dirty green. Their faces are painted in woodland camo, their staring white eyes shocking in the shadows. Together, they step from the cover of the woods. Talk to these weird people, because why not? You pause and look the nearest figure in the face. His curious eyes return your examination, his head tilting slowly to the side. He looks like he could be a kid of college age, early 20s or late teens at a push. He seems entirely unself-conscious about his appearance. The others move slowly, advancing to surround the car without aggression. Your passenger door opens. A woman bends to look in. She wears a thick pair of nerdy glasses with tiny blue flowers twined about the arms. After a moment, she steps inside and sits down, pulling the door closed. "Don't be afraid," she says. "You're exactly where you need to be." The car's internal light glints, harsh from her lenses. Listen to her, why not? "Something lives in these woods." She raises a palm, indicating the others outside. "We all heard its call. For some of us, it was a shape in the darkness. For others, a disturbance, an idea during the longest hours of a sleepless night. That's why we come here." She settles her glasses on her nose and studies you. "For me, it was music. I used to drive through here too, every weekend. The radio broke, or so I thought. It would pick up whistles, whispers, other songs. I kept it on, just for company on the long, dark drive. And after a few hours, I realized it was singing. Singing to me." The girl stares ahead through the windscreen. Her voice drops. "It knows more than we do. It sees our future. It knew my name. It will know yours." She opens the car door and steps back out. Then she leans back in for a parting word. A hint of resentment flickers in her eyes. "Any one of us would take your place, if we could." The others have gathered around the rear of the car. As she rejoins them, they draw back and melt into the woods. Returning your attention to the road, you notice the fallen tree has been shifted, so you can now squeeze your car past it. Drive on. The roadblock recedes into the darkness behind you. You try to stay calm and concentrate on driving. It's not far home now. You've almost forgotten the little creature lying silent in your trunk. Almost. Head towards the edge of the woods. Trunks flicker past in your peripheral vision. Branches stretch above, black webs across the moon. The road banks and dips, the gentle pull of the curve welcome in your sleepy condition. It might be your imagination, but you think the trees are thinning out. It can't be far to the edge of the woods. Now let's accelerate it. You lean on the gas, the car responds, the engine thrumming. As the woods slip past, you try to remember how far you were from the fringes. 5 minutes? 10? The road slings to the left. The tightness of the curve surprises you, and you have to ease off the gas a little to hug the road. The last thing you want to do at this point is have an accident. Concentrate. Trunks flicker past in your peripheral vision. Branches stretch above, black webs across the moon. The road banks and dips. The gentle pull of the curve welcome in your sleepy condition. It might be your imagination, but you think the trees are thinning out. It can't be. Whoa. Déjà vu. Keep it slow and steady. You hold the car's position, feeding the steering as the highway weaves left, then right. A tiny rill, choked with leaves, runs along the blacktop for 30 seconds before disappearing into the trees. You blink, forcing yourself to watch the road markings. You're really very tired now. Trunks flicker past in your peripheral vision. Branches stretch above, black webs across the moon. The road banks and dips. The gentle pull of the curve welcome you in your sleepy condition. It might be your imagination, but your fingers tight on the wheel. Something is wrong here. Let's stop. You bring the car to a halt at the side of the road. Something makes you thumb the hazard lights, even though your car must be visible from a distance already. You become occupied by the idea that the road used to take a different route, that vehicles could emerge from the woods at any moment, but the trunks are packed tight together and they have many years of growth. You are not thinking straight. Concentrate on getting out of the woods. Trunks flicker past in your peripheral vision. Branches stretch above, black webs across the moon. The road banks and dips, the gentle pull of the curve welcome in your sleepy condition. Something is watching you. Out there, eyes move in their sockets, following the car as it sweeps past. Keep it slow and steady. You keep the car on course, driving well, driving carefully. The sensation of being watched from behind builds. The feeling is of unknown footsteps behind you on a deserted street. Your foot twitches on the gas. Of course, there is something behind you. The animal in the trunk. Keep going. Trunks flicker past you in your peripheral vision. Branches stretch above. It's more. An odd thought bothers you. Have you been driving on this road for your entire life? Over and over again? On the same section? Stop for a reality check. You pull the car over for a moment and stare at yourself in the mirror. Your eyes are wide, strained. You rub your face and pinch the bridge of your nose. Whatever is happening here, it's in your imagination. You're driving home with an injured animal in the trunk, that's all. Just a little farther. You check the mirror again. Nothing on the road behind, nothing in the back seat. Pull back onto the road. Trunks flicker past in your peripheral vision. Branches stretch above. Black webs across the moon, more of the same. You take your eyes off the road for a moment, glancing into the rear of the car. Nothing. Yet you can't shake the feeling that it's there, just behind your seat, looking at you with moonbeam eyes. Check the back seat. You pull over. The night air is cold. You yank the door open and stare at the fabric of the rear seat. There is nothing there. Of course not. You've been driving for hours. This is not rational. You check beneath the driver's seat. Then you lean over to check beneath the passenger's seat. There is nothing there. Of course there's nothing there. Check the animal in the trunk. You turn off the engine and walk around to the rear of the car. Every step feels like a mistake. The metal of the trunk is wet and cold beneath your fingers. You raise it up. The creature is out from the blanket. It strains in the center of the trunk, holding itself up on what might be a broken leg. It whines and trills, anxious for attention. It takes a moment before you realize its attention is focused on something behind you. It's Mommy. Turn around. A cold breeze touches the nape of your neck as you look back down the road. A towering shadow moves between the trees, shifting them aside for each slow, colossal step. It blocks the stars. Light glints on its top and you glimpse ragged clumps of what might be frizzy hair. They drag streams of rain from glistening leaves. Let's watch it. Let's see what this thing does. The ink-black giant pauses, rotating in the slow night air. For a moment, you think you see a space within it, a bowed head lit by faltering white light. Then the darkness returns and it advances, branches snapping on either side. It draws closer. The shadow vibrates, letting forth a thunderous drone. Shockwaves rise from the ground, making your bones judder and your palms quiver. It seems to sway over you and the car. Black tendrils whip through the air above your head, displacing air with a whoosh like passing traffic. At any moment, you might be crushed. Let's communicate. You stare up at the mammoth form crouched between the trees. You try to pick out a head or shoulders. Trees creak as it leans closer, cramming its form into the width of the road. It seems to be waiting to see what you will do. I'm gonna sing. There's a strange feeling in your gut, which could be doom or just plain embarrassment, as you step out in front of the creature. Rather than try to imitate its cracked roars or drones, you choose a song from your childhood. Something soothing. You clear your throat and sing. The colossus before you quietens at the opening notes. As you proceed, feeling small and very alone, it lowers its immense mass to fill the road. For a moment you think it is echoing your melody, but by the end, its call is more like a whimper. One dark limb toys with the rear of your car. Open the trunk. The thing shifts behind you as you move around to the rear of the car. It leans closer, a black, vertiginous wall braced above you. Your hands shake as you feel for the latch. As your fingers close around it, you hear exciting whining from within. The trunk opens. The little bundle is still there, tucked into a corner. The thing behind you presses uncomfortably close. Get out of the way. You watch from the side of the road as the immense creature leans back, cradling the smaller animal with protrusions, the color of slate. It raises the tiny bundle up like an offering to the moon and hums. Its small, querulous tone sounds like a lonely telephone. The little one whistles and hums, catching its pitch, burbling with excitement and recognition. A movement pulls your gaze, and you see figures between the trees again, slim and pale, a candle to each. They stand to attention like guards. Chime in with the creatures. Something in your gut, something you can't quite explain, makes you step forward and call out to the creatures, matching their tones as best you can. Their chatter slows and you feel the big one shift, returning its attention to you. The music between the dark giant and the smaller animal changes, fluttering through short phrases and answering chimes. A breeze disturbs the branches above you, leaves rustling as the things communicate. You try a new harmony and the little one responds, returning a counterpoint with metallic chimes. The giant drops silent for a moment, observing the play of harmony between you, now a run of melody, now a shifting drone which converges and diverges, potent in the night air. All of a sudden it belches a bass foundation, rich horn tones that you feel in your stomach muscles, rounded notes that drift up to play in the separation between the pitches of you and the little one. You call together under the night sky, and you feel yourself pulled along on the current of your voice, twining into melody, slipping off your body like an old coat. Your whole life, you have carried a question within you, one you could never speak even to yourself. But now you feel your essence spreading thin, flowing into the greater essence of the giant before you, sizzling at the edges. You become nothing but the question. Yes, it answers. Yes, it accepts you. The end. You have reached the end of the story. You can restart from the beginning to follow a different path. Oh yes, let me find more great stories from Adventure Cow. Wow. Well. Yes. Well, wow. That was a good story. I liked it. It was a little long, about 40 minutes. If you can stick through it, I'd appreciate it. Let me know what you feel about it. I'm going to put the description for these guys below. Very good story. You can tell there's a lot of different ways it could have gone, so if you guys liked it, let me know. I'll see you later, maybe. If somebody else has a request or something, I'll make a video.